Right, let's unpack this. Today, we're doing a deep dive into Huqooq Al Ibaad. This is a really profound Islamic principle focusing on the rights and obligations we owe each other, human to human. Our mission, basically drawing from this booklet you've provided, is to pull out the most important insights. If you kind of shortcut to understanding this crucial part of Islamic teachings and how it connects directly to your everyday life. And right away, the document makes this really striking point. It suggests that neglecting these human rights, it can cause huge societal problems, and it's actually a form of disobedience to Allah. So why is this concept so vital, maybe even more universally applicable than we might first think?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, Huqooq Al Ibaad is fundamentally, it's about the very fabric of how we interact as people. The booklet really stresses how this principle forms the backbone of a just, harmonious society in Islam. It's foundational, maybe not always talked about as much as, say, the five pillars, but absolutely essential.
Yeah, that distinction is fascinating right from the start. So just to make sure we're all grounded, could you clarify what Huquq ul Ibad actually means?
Sure. Huqooq Al Ibaad literally translates to rights of humans over humans.
Hmm.
It's often said against Huquq Allah, the rights Allah has over us. And the word haq itself, it's rich. It means things like reward, truth, justice, duty. So it really covers all the responsibilities to one another.
Right. And here's where the booklet offers that a really interesting perspective, something that might challenge, common assumptions.
Right.
It suggests that while the five pillars, kalma, namaz, roza, zakat, hajj, are obviously essential, focusing only on them might sort of overshadow other critical things.
Exactly. The document points this out clearly. You might find someone very diligent in prayers, fasting, charity, maybe even hajj. But at the same time, they could be involved in, say, family abuse spouse, daughter-in-law, even their own mother-in-law. Or maybe they harm neighbors, break family ties, misuse an orphan's money, or cheat in business, don't pay back loans, or, backbite. All of those, they fall directly under Huqooq Al Ibaad. It just shows how comprehensive Islam is. It covers every single aspect of life, especially how we relate to each other. And that's why gaining knowledge, ilm about this specific area is just so important.
Okay, so with that foundation laid, the booklet spends a lot of time on sila remi. That's the rights of relatives, maintaining kinship ties. What does it say about the benefits of keeping those ties strong?
Oh, the rewards are described as immense. For example, the Prophet, peace be upon him, taught that giving charity to a poor relative, it gets you a double reward, one for the charity itself and one for fulfilling that kinship right. And beyond that, maintaining kinship is directly linked to increased sustenance risk and even a longer lifespan. And perhaps most profoundly, it's described as a direct path to Jannat, to paradise.
Wow. So this isn't just about being nice to family. There are real, tangible, spiritual, and even worldly consequences baked into these relationships. What about the flip side? What happens if those ties are broken?
The consequences are, well, they're presented as severe. Severing kinship is called a social curse. It's considered one of the most displeasing acts to Allah, right after shirk, associating partners with him. It's explicitly mentioned as a barrier to entering paradise. And furthermore, the Prophet warned that two specific things, oppression and breaking kinship ties, might bring punishment from Allah in this world, not just in the afterlife. The focus on those two is pretty stark.
That's an incredibly serious warning. But what does true sila remi look like? Is it just, being kind back to people who are kind to you?
No, the document clarifies it goes beyond just simple reciprocation. True sila remi is shown by the person who keeps trying to maintain the ties, even when the other person cuts them off. That's seen as a higher level of conduct, doing it for Allah's pleasure, not just based on how others treat you.
That makes sense. And it also makes sense why there's such a strong focus on relatives specifically. Does the booklet say why most conflicts tend to happen there?
Yeah, it explains that a lot of the friction we see, disputes over property, business dealings, even just living together day to day, often happens among relatives. Because they interact so much, share interests, there's just more opportunity for things to go wrong. And precisely because these relationships can be challenging, Islam strongly commands maintaining good relations, whatever the difficulties.
And to really illustrate this, the booklet shares that powerful story about Abu Bakr and Mista bin Asa. How does that story show sila remi in action?
It's a fantastic example of how to live this principle, especially when you've been deeply hurt. You see, during that incredibly difficult time when false rumors were spread about Aisha, the Prophet's wife, and Abu Bakr's daughter, Mista bin Asa, got involved. Now, Mista was a very poor relative, someone Abu Bakr had always helped financially, so Abu Bakr was understandably devastated and swore he'd stop supporting him. But Then Allah revealed this verse in Surah An-Nur, verse 22. It basically says, don't let those with grace and wealth swear off giving to kinsmen, the poor, migrants for Allah's cause. Let them pardon and overlook. Don't you want Allah to forgive you? And when Abu Bakr heard this, he immediately said, yes, by Allah, I absolutely want Allah to forgive me.
Right.
And he instantly went back to supporting this just like before, even paying an atonement for his oath. It's just this beautiful example of forgiveness and upholding kinship, even when it's incredibly hard.
What an amazing story of forgiveness. Okay, shifting focus slightly, the document also talks a lot about adl o insaf, justice and fairness. How central is this in Islam?
Justice, adl. It's described as a core attribute of Allah himself. The entire order of the universe is tied to it. Allah commands justice. He loves those who act justly. Surah An-Nahl, verse 90 says, indeed, Allah enjoins justice and good conduct. And as humans, we all feel this, right? Everyone wants fairness. Think about daily life. You buy milk, you expect it to be pure. You buy groceries, you expect the right weight. Fairness is just built into us.
It's amazing how this core principle ties into everything from global systems to how we buy groceries. Does the booklet say more about the impact on individuals?
It does. It highlights a psychological benefit.
Hmm.
A just person, they find peace, tranquility in their heart. But an oppressor, someone unfair, they live with fear, anxiety. And the prophets also spoke highly of justice. He mentioned 7 types of people who will be under Allah's shade on Judgment Day 1 as a just ruler. Another hadith says those who are just in their family and their responsibilities will be on pulpits of light near Allah in the afterlife.
From that broad principle of justice, the booklet then zooms right into a very specific, very intimate relationship. Mia biwi ke hukooq, the rights between spouses. It calls this the first human bond.
That's right. It emphasizes this was the very first human relationship Allah established. All other relationships, all generations, they stem from this initial bond. And the document really stresses that understanding and upholding these rights is absolutely critical. Why? Because neglecting them can lead to terrible outcomes, divorce, family shame, the breakdown of generations. If this core relationship fractures, the ripple effect is huge, impacting families, entire lineages.
And the Quran uses that incredibly beautiful metaphor comparing spouses to garments. What's the deeper meaning there?
Oh, what's fascinating here is how much that one metaphor packs in. It really captures the complex intimacy and interdependence of marriage. Surah Al-Baqarah, verse 187, they are a garment for you and you are a garment for them. So what does that mean? Well, several things. Closeness, intimacy, like clothes are close to the body. Concealment, privacy. Clothes cover flaws. Spouses should cover each other's faults, protect privacy. Beauty, adornment. Garments make us look good. Spouses should beautify each other. Protection. Clothes shield us. Spouses protect each other from harm, societal pressures, even whispers from shaitan. It puts a huge responsibility on both partners to really live up to that ideal.
Okay, so looking at the specifics, what are the main rights of the husband or duties of the wife that the booklet outlines?
Well, it highlights the wife's primary duty as obedience to her husband. But, and this is crucial, only when it doesn't go against Allah's commands. So she wouldn't skip mandatory prayers or fasts if he told her to. But for optional things like extra fasts, she should consider his comfort and seek his permission. There's a hadith mentioned. A woman who prays, fasts, protects her chastity, and obeys her husband can enter paradise through any gate she wishes. Other duties include guarding his home, wealth, and honor when he's away, accepting his earnings gratefully, not pushing him towards unlawful income, and generally striving to please him is presented as a path to Jannat. The text also clarifies this obedience isn't meant to be demeaning. It draws a parallel to kids obeying parents. We see that as precious, right?
And what about the other side? The husband's duties, the wife's rights.
The husband absolutely must treat his wife kindly, provide food, clothing, according to custom and what he can afford. There's a very strong emphasis against striking the wife. It's called a sign of weakness, something that destroys respect. Now, the document does mention a process if a wife is persistently rebellious. First advise, then separate beds, and only as an absolute last resort, a light, non-injurious strike, not on the face. But this is clearly presented as rare, exceptional, and heavily cautioned against. And critically important, paying the mahr, the dowry. It must be paid at the time of marriage. Not even intending to pay it is equated, shockingly, with adultery. That's how serious it is.
Wow. Beyond the specific duties, the booklet talks about the broader qualities needed for a good marriage. It really makes you think about how much personality and intention go into making these relationships thrive, far beyond just following rules.
Absolutely. It paints a clear picture. For the wife, Obedience, being service-oriented, not refusing intimacy without a valid reason, overlooking faults, striving for his comfort, gratitude for his provision and gratitude is actually mentioned as a reason many women end up in hellfire and managing anger wisely. For the husband, gentleness, fulfilling her rights consistently, lowering his gaze from non-mahram women, avoiding any oppression, patience with her temper, focusing on her good qualities, offering comfort during hard times like grief or sickness, protecting her honor by ensuring modesty, encouraging her religious practice, and not being stingy with family expenses.
So there are mutual responsibilities too.
Yes, definitely. From a joint perspective, mutual trust and sincerity are key. Both are guardians of that trust. Fostering love and mercy is central, like the Quran says in Surah Ar-Rum, verse 21, He placed between you affection and mercy. There's that sweet anecdote of the Prophet Muhammad drinking from the same spot on a cup as Aisha, showing that affection. Both are also responsible for creating a religious atmosphere at home, protecting the family from hellfire. And, importantly, both should try to focus on strengths, be patient with weaknesses, and work on them together. Nobody's perfect, right?
That's a really practical roadmap for marriage. Now, building on that, the booklet moves into those often tricky family dynamics, specifically mother-in-law and daughter-in-law relationships.
Yeah, this section offers some really valuable wisdom for navigating these delicate situations. It stresses emotional intelligence, not just rigid roles. The document makes a great point. A daughter-in-law is entering a whole new world, leaving her family behind. You can't just expect her to instantly adopt everything new or forget her past, so it actually encourages the mother-in-law to take the first step. Be a mother first, before expecting a daughter. Give her time, space to adjust without piling on expectations right away. It even acknowledges the psychological angle of the mother sharing her son's love and advises her to be mentally ready for that before the marriage happens.
That's insightful. And what about living arrangements? People often ask about that. Is living together required?
No, the booklet is clear. It's not an Islamic obligation to live together. In fact, it suggests living separately, if possible, is often better. It can reduce friction, allow more freedom and respect, and might even lead to more respect from the kids later on. It's practical advice for avoiding common problems.
And the husband, the son-in-law, sounds like he has a really pivotal role in all this.
Absolutely vital. He's the bridge. He has to mediate between his mother and his wife, making sure neither feels crushed or disrespected. He needs to protect his wife's dignity, but also show respect to his mother. The text makes a point of distinguishing between respectfully disagreeing with parents and being disrespectful. And interestingly, it also advises the daughter's parents. Don't stir up trouble between her and her husband. Once she's married, her primary home is with him. Disputes need mediation, not her just running back home.
It sounds like a delicate dance, but one with huge rewards if everyone puts ego aside and focuses on unity. What about in-laws generally, extended family?
Well, while they don't have the exact same legal standing as birth parents, the booklet emphasizes they should still be treated with great respect and kindness, almost like your own parents. It specifically warns against ignoring their rights or seeing their requests as some kind of slavery. Good character extends to everyone connected by marriage.
Okay, broadening out again, the booklet talks about safeguarding honor and avoiding oppression in general. How serious is harming another Muslim, even if it's not physical?
What's fascinating here is the profound emphasis on protecting emotional and social dignity, not just physical safety. The document states that insulting someone, backbiting, causing them distress any Muslim, man or woman, is a grave sin. It's even likened to slander. Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 58, warns harshly against harming believing men and women without cause. It says they bear the guilt of slander and open sin. And injustice, any injustice, is forbidden by Allah. Oppression will be darkness on the day of judgment. So there's a huge emphasis on seeking forgiveness now, returning rights now, before facing divine judgment.
So it's really about practical kindness on a deep level.
Yes, exactly. Actively helping others, but discreetly, without making them feel small. Respecting their preferences, proactively avoiding stepping on anyone's rights. The path to Allah's pleasure, to success here and hereafter, is really tied up in how we treat others.
The booklet then gets very specific again, addressing relationships like brothers-in-law Jeth, Diwar, and also Nandoi, Benoi. There's a hadith using a really strong word, calling the husband's close male relatives death.
Indeed. The Prophet, peace be upon him, used the Arabic term al-hamwa for the husband's close relatives, like brothers-in-law, and he explicitly equated it to death. It's a very stark, powerful warning.
Death. Wow. That's incredibly intense. What does that mean?
It points to the potential for serious temptation, moral danger, because these relatives are often familiar, frequently in the home. The warning underscores the need for extreme caution for maintaining strict boundaries, things like avoiding being alone together, cutting out unnecessary joking or familiarity, not speaking in overly soft or enticing ways. These things can, unintentionally, open doors to sin.
And does this influence advice on living arrangements?
Again, it's not a strict religious rule that you must live separately, but it's definitely suggested as a good idea, a suitable recommendation if circumstances allow. It's seen as a practical way to minimize these specific risks while still maintaining kinship respectfully. Islam offers flexibility, but stresses caution and proper conduct.
Right. Moving to a principle that kind of underlies all these interactions, the booklet really highlights husn akhlaq, good character. How central is that?
It's presented as absolutely fundamental. It's core to a believer's identity, who they are. The Quran itself, in Surah Al-Qalam, verse 4, says the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, possessed an exalted standard of character.
Hmm.
And the Prophet himself said he was sent specifically to perfect noble character. It's central to the mission.
So it's not just about big actions, but the small, everyday manners, too.
Exactly. The booklet gets practical. Speak softly. A loud voice is even compared to a donkey's bray, which is quite a comparison. Stay silent when angry. Greet people cheerfully. Show genuine care, whether someone's happy or sad. The Prophet is the ultimate example in all these little things that make up good character.
Now let's talk about Alad ke Huqooq, the rights of children and their upbringing. The document puts a lot of weight on parents here.
It really does. Parents are guardians. They will be asked by Allah about how they raise their children. Both parents share this, though maybe the mother has more early influence, with the father supervising. It's like gardening. You can't just plant a seed and hope for the best. There's continuous care and guidance needed for a fruitful life. It's a huge responsibility.
And this idea that righteous children bring rewards even after the parents pass away.
Absolutely. It's a powerful concept. Good children are like sadaqah jariyah, ongoing charity. Their knowledge benefits others. Their prayers for their parents elevate the parents' status in Jannat. But the flip side is also mentioned. Unrighteous children might complain about their parents in the hereafter, offering no benefit. And there are specific rewards mentioned for raising daughters well, with care, provision, mercy. Raising 3 or even 2 daughters properly is described as a shield from hellfire and a path to paradise for the parents.
So what are the key pillars of an Islamic upbringing according to the source?
The booklet lays out a clear framework. First and foremost, correct beliefs, especially Tawheed, the oneness of Allah. Teach this from day one. It's the foundation of faith, acceptance by Allah. Wrong beliefs. They can lead the child, and maybe even the parents, to hellfire. That's how critical it is. Also, teach reliance on Allah alone. Seek help only from Him. There's a hadith emphasizing nothing can help or harm you without Allah's will. Guide kids away from blindly imitating other cultures or religions, explaining why based on Islamic teachings.
Wow.
Maintain clear gender distinctions in dress, behavior, discourage imitation. Emphasize modesty. Parents' own actions matter hugely, like listening to music at home. That directly shapes kids' inclinations. And finally, discipline and accountability. Teach responsibility, consequences, but avoid being overly harsh or too lenient, and never ever be unjust towards them.
That's a massive responsibility for parents. Okay, let's look at the other side. Walidin ka Huqooq, the rights of parents. These are given an incredibly high status.
Supreme status, second only to the rights of Allah Himself. The Quran gives 5 specific commands for kindness to parents. 1, never say uff, not even that small sound of annoyance. 2, never scold them or raise your voice. 3, always speak respectfully. 4, show humility, compassion towards them. 5, pray for their forgiveness and mercy. And the Prophet, peace be upon him, said that when a child prays for their deceased parents' forgiveness, the parent's rank in Jannat is raised.
Wow. It's clear that parental rights are a lifelong commitment, extending even beyond their lifetime, a powerful idea.
Yes, the duties continue even after they pass away. Pray for their forgiveness constantly. Do good deeds on their behalf, like sadaqah jariyah. Honor their friends and relatives, pay off any debts they left behind, fulfill their trusts, execute their lawful wills. It's a truly comprehensive and beautiful picture of enduring respect.
The booklet then covers siblings, bahan ke Huqooq, and close relatives, qaribi rishtadar ke Huqooq. What's the main guidance there?
For siblings, it's pretty straightforward. Younger ones should respect older ones, like parents, and older ones have duties towards the younger ones. There's a hadith that gives a hierarchy of kindness. First mother, then father, then sister, then brother, then other close relatives, in order of closeness. And these principles of good conduct extend to aunts, uncles, cousins too. Treat them with respect, maintain ties even if they cut you off. Visit them when sick, offer condolences, be gentle, doing it all for Allah's pleasure.
Okay, finally, let's touch on two groups needing special care. Bewa ke Huqooq and Yatim ke Huqooq, the rights of widows and orphans. How does Islam ensure they're supported?
What's fascinating here is how Islam proactively addresses the vulnerabilities of those who have lost their support systems, truly integrating social welfare into its core principles. For widows, society absolutely has a duty to provide support, especially emotional support, and Islam starkly contrasts with some historical practices elsewhere. It explicitly allows, even encourages, remarriage for widows. The booklet strongly condemns discouraging remarriage based on what people might say that's putting human opinion over Allah's allowance. If she chooses not to remarry, her closest male relative is responsible for her financial support. And the reward for helping widows and the needy is huge, equated to jihad or constant worship. Importantly, a widow has the full right to choose who she marries, no forcing. And after her waiting period, Idat, she can adorn herself again within Islamic limits.
And for orphans?
An orphan, defined as a child whose father died before puberty, gets special rights because they've lost their provider. The booklet stresses the immense reward for anyone who cares for an orphan, supervises them, treats them kindly, looks after their affairs, even if the orphan has wealth. This protection of the vulnerable is just fundamental.
This truly expands our understanding of human rights beyond just family to anyone in our employs. The booklet also covers Kadimulazim ke Huqooq, the rights of servants and employees. What are the key principles there?
Yes, it stresses treating servants and employees with kindness, respect. Never look down on them. The Prophet's own example with Anas, his young servant, is key. He treated him with love, like a son. Employers are warned against mocking or fault-finding. Surah Humazah is quoted, condemning fault-finders. There's this teaching to feed and clothe them with what you eat and wear yourself striving for equality. Don't burden them beyond what they can handle. Masters should even help with tough tasks, and there's a strong warning against being unjustly harsh. Those who punish others unfairly in this life, they'll face punishment from Allah. It's a serious matter.
So, bringing this all together after this deep dive, what's the main takeaway? The core message of Huqooq Al Ibaad from this source?
I think the consistent thread is that Huqooq Al Ibaad creates this intricate web of interconnected responsibilities. Fulfilling your obligations to others, family, in-laws, kids, parents, the vulnerable, even employees. It's not just about being a good person. It's presented as a direct path, a path to pleasing Allah, to finding real success both in this world and in the hereafter.
And that powerful theme running through it all, the need to sacrifice our ego, our stubbornness for the sake of harmony, for fulfilling these rights, the booklet puts it so well. When we are safe from each other's harm, love and sacrifice flourish. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means the real test of faith, maybe even our humanity, it lies right there in how we treat each other.
Yeah, this deep dive really makes you ask, doesn't it? Are we truly aiming for Allah's pleasure in our interactions? Or we're maybe just trying to, win arguments, get our own way? The source makes it crystal clear, prioritizing other people's rights, even when it's hard, even when it means sacrificing something of our own pride or desire. That is the path to genuine success and peace. So maybe the final thought is, considering all these rewards and the warnings too, what small sacrifice of ego, what small step towards fulfilling a right could you make today to build a stronger connection, maybe mend a relationship, or just show kindness where it's due?